Wait a second. Don't go anywhere. I want you to be present for this broadcast because we're going to be covering some wild stuff. I mean, we're going to be dealing with some really sensitive issues. But when before we get there and before we dive in on this, Mercedes is going to be with me. We're going to be discussing some really powerful insights and current events. I got to tell you, the slippers have been, for me, the secret weapon at the end of every day. I go home and I actually put Tucker on DVR and I slip on these slippers. I can go outside, get the mail. These are indoor-outdoor slippers of the coziest type, but I also wear my Mike Lindell bathrobe. Now, if you've never had Mike Lindell's bathrobe, you got to realize it's like 10 pounds. This thing is heavy. I don't know where this thing is made, but have you had one of these? It's such a thick ply that it's the MyPillow. Of course, I have a large. This is like a throw blanket, even when I'm watching movies with Annabelle. It's like my MyPillow blanket. It's so thick and comfortable. That's not it. I discovered something. He's got these new technology pillows where they're cooling. It's almost like Elon Musk must have given him some strategy. So you can put your head on it, and instead of the heat like sweating and being hot, it cools your head. And grandparents, I want you to look at these, Mercedes, hold those up. These really cool biblical pillows for your grandkids, man. Just throw them in there. It's a little extra something for you when you go visit them. I believe we should probably get Mike Lindell on the show sometime because
right now, brother.
Whoa!
How about now?
Oh my God. It's Macho Man Mike Lindell.
I'm stoked to be here, Lance. Thank you for talking about Tucker and getting tucked in with a MyPillow set.
Tucker getting tucked in with MyPillow. Well, listen, I just want to say that you always sound like... Why is it that you're sounding more and more aggressive all the time there, Mike?
Because these sales are unavoidable. They are inevitable. They are the best in the biz.
I'm wondering, Mike, though, is it your new coffee? Is it the My Coffee that's got you jazzed up right now?
Put the pep in your step with the My Coffee. It's the best Berlinda that's this side of the Mississippi. You can't stop, won't stop with My Coffee.
40 to 50% off. Go to mypillow.com. And use promo code Lance.
Go.
MyPillow.com, promo code Lance. And folks, you don't know, Mike Lindell, the coffee, the slippers, the blanket type bathrobe, the children's...
The voter integrity.
It's a patriot, and there's a reason why we do this with Mike. Because Mike is fighting the good fight of faith, and we need to stand in his corner in the match that he's in. Amen?
Amen, brother! Come out Sunday to watch me and Fauci. Just kidding.
Mike Lindell and Fauci. That'll be the fight of the century. The pillow fight. All right. We'll be back. We'll be starting the show right now. Let's move on with today's big story. Elon Musk. I'm a big Elon Musk shout-out guy. I'm on this Flashpoint program, right, which is the Christian show, Christian news coverage for evangelicals and Pentecostals and such. And I'm probably one of the only guys that quotes Elon Musk and Bill Maher and Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. My point is, these guys are actually secular left people that have been making the journey right to where we are on almost every issue. Now then you got, did you see, what's his name, the English comedian? I like him too. He married to Katy Perry. Come on, Carl.
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. So he was on Tucker. Russell Brand. And he's even, what I want you guys to see is we're really winning the battle of public persuasion. You may not see it because they're not listening to us. Us that are, we listen to us, but they're talking to middle America and to the constituency that's under the influence and the mesmerizing spell of MSNBC and CNN. And so that's the reason why I'm always concerned when Elon Musk comes up in the headlines. And this is from Breitbart. Elon Musk's Twitter restricts conservatives raising alarm about Trans Day of Vengeance.
This portion is too hot to handle for social media. Go to lancewallnau.com/podcast to listen to the entire show.
This is the two-tiered system, and I'm fed up with it. By the way, I noticed behind me, we don't have the Capitol, my usual
we have the
backdrop.
mountains.
We have
Yeah,
a
I
mountain
like it.
today.
We're trying to switch
You like
it up.
the mountain?
Ask
It's like a
people what-
Martian landscape. For those of you that are in the podcast, you don't realize how we're changing things around here. I got a Martian land. It looks like the set for what's his name's movie, Martian, or whatever. All right, now look, we only got 1 minute left here, Mercedes, and so I want to make a point that I very seldom can make, and that is that everybody out there needs to be informed about what's going on, and what can they do with us in order to stay informed.
Just stay informed with us and follow the podcast, because we do this every single day during the week.
By the way, you can go to LanceWallnauShow.com and you can go /podcast, and you can be getting access to our daily show, our prescient analysis, our edifying perspective, and particularly if you're trying to track the spiritual battle in America. We have some tremendous breakthroughs because we're doing rallies with 5, 6, 7 to 10,000 people, and we want you there at these rallies. We're going to be back in the next segment to tell you more. You know, I got to tell you, the two reoccurring kind of anxiety thoughts that I've had in the past was I would be watching like Jim Baker, and he'd be talking about the food crisis and making sure you got food. And it came back to me over and over again. I don't want to wait until there's a food crisis and then beat myself up and say, oh my gosh, Annabelle, what have we got? That's when I took action with My Patriot. And I made the investment. I'm telling you, it was one of the smartest things I ever did, Mercedes, because I've got peace of mind. Then I started thinking about, well, let me add a little bit more food because I've got children. I know they're not going to be thinking about what they're going to do. If we hit a crisis, and then we did, we had like the power go out, weird, in Texas for like a week in the middle of the winter. That's when I realized, oh, man, I got to look at solar. I've got to look at backup energy. I've got to look at food. I went and visited my friend Ken, and he has a ranch. He has enough food and water there to take care of him and his 8 grandchildren and his 4 children. And this guy takes it seriously, and he's a brilliant businessman. That's when I decided. LanceWallnau.com /Patriot. I believe in it so much, I'm going to make sure my friends hear about it. Take action now. LanceWallnau.com /Patriot. You get a huge discount when you go to this site, when you use our relationship there, and you need to stock up. As sure as I'm dealing with the economic meltdown right now, I'm dealing with the food situation as well. Food and finance, fundamental for your survival. Take action now. LanceWallnau.com /Patriot. God bless you. We're back again, and I know that you've been anxiously awaiting our analysis of what's going on with Donald Trump. I want to tell you that a friend of mine was hosting Donald Trump in Waco, Texas, and nobody's actually discussed this yet. I want to talk to you about this. And the president was, he was doing his job out there, but, they were applauding, they were responding, but they weren't enthusiastic on the digs on Ron DeSantis. And this is something I'm trying to get a message to him. He doesn't understand this fully. And once again, I appeal to all those that are supposed to be with their ear to the ground of the evangelical community. Just tell him, say, you need to find a constructive way to remove Ron DeSantis from the competition without trying to diminish him to an audience that actually likes him but loves you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you have to change the argument. And I'm suggesting, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Mercedes,
Okay.
that he should be listening. They're groaning. They're not applauding. It's kind of like when he'd say, and how about Operation Warp Speed? I got that vaccine to you. I cut the red tape. Boo. You can hear the audience. Our crowd is like, he ought to know his own brand market out here. We're like, no on the vaccine. And stop beating up on Ron, because we're planning on him being Trump is the 1 punch, DeSantis is 2. We're looking for the 1-2 punch. We don't want to see him damaged. We want to see him strong governor of Florida who steps in to follow through on Trump's heroic 4-year slugfest with the deep state. What do you think?
I think there's such a mixed bag of responses out there to this subject that some people really think Ron is like a deep state, they think he's another Bush, that he's being groomed, and he's not really MAGA. He's not that. And I don't know. I mean, I think he's done a lot of good things for Florida. Also important to note is, people always hold up Florida, but they do have a 14-week abortion window. So it's like 3 months. Nothing's really been done there. So it's a little
my audience
bag.
is going to get so mad at me because I know how my people are. Here's the situation. When Lincoln wanted to be able to do the Emancipation Proclamation, he said, I need a victory before I could do it. I need to at least win. And then he had the Battle of Antietam, which was a marginal victory, but he claimed it was a victory in the press in New York in order to come out with the Emancipation Proclamation, which was stating the liberation of all slaves owned, and I guess it was, in the states. And the point is, it was a piece of legislation that had symbolism behind it because it started to define what the war was all about. The challenge we have in the United States is Christians don't get this. If you're not winning the battle of public persuasion, you cannot be critical of the political leadership that has to work with what you give them in terms of your success moving the needle in public persuasion, and then expect them to carry your failure over the finish line and get elected. So you can't, for instance, you look at where the homosexual issue was in the 80s. There were many people heroically trying to fight it for fear that it would become what it is today, a radicalized political agenda that would throttle and attack the religious liberties of Christians. And what they were told back then was, why are you so paranoid? This isn't going to prohibit and restrict you. Why can't people be free to love each other and do what they want to do? You're worried that we're going to come after your business or after your kids or after your freedom of speech. Nothing like that. We're going to shut down your churches. Never in a million years. Well, guess what? That's exactly where the march is going.
Yeah.
Get my point?
It's
Where
a
am I going? Where am I
slippery
going with this analogy?
It's a slippery slope to transgenders at story time doing provocative dances.
There you go.
Here
Now
we
we got
are.
drag queen hour there with your kindergartner, and it's all like you're suppressing freedom of speech. Now, where was I? I was making this point. It was attached to another point. And what was the other
you were
point?
talking about your people need to understand.
Oh, yes. My
Yeah.
point is this. 14-week with abortion. It should be 0. But you know what? You're never going to get anybody elected because Christians have not succeeded in conditioning the marketplace of ideas. And as long as this was Trump's frustration. He felt that midterms was largely a referendum on radical pro-life positions, which is under no circumstances in any circumstance are we going to compromise the life of the unborn. I understand that. I understand the moral precept of that. The challenge you have when you go into the arena of public opinion is, okay, now everybody's going to get to vote on whether they agree with you. And if you haven't persuaded them, then you actually end up with, look at the Biden regime. Suppose America ever elected this kind of idiocy. If you make it hard to vote for the alternative, then you're going to sabotage what you get. In other words, I'm saying that the argument that DeSantis is deep state, because he happens to have the support and endorsement of people that liked Bush, isn't really a good argument. Because there are going to be people that like Bush, that don't like Trump, that aren't necessarily for deep state.
Yeah. I just love Trump's nicknames that he made for everybody. Remember, like Little Marco? And you remember all those little nicknames he made up for everybody during the debates?
Well,
I'm looking forward to that again.
No, he's done it already. This is the point. He's already labeled sanctimonious Ron DeSanctimonious.
I don't think it's
now he's Ron DeSanctus.
Maybe that's the problem.
No,
Maybe it's not the right nickname.
No, it is. No, the worst part is he's touched on something. He has a genius for this. And the only one he missed it was Lion Ted. The Lion Ted was not really the right one. That's the only one he missed. Everyone else, he kind of caught a nuance, like a caricature, like a cartoon. Because when Ron DeSantis reluctantly had to go to bat for Trump because he realized in the polling that he had to say something about the Soros DA trying to take down Trump in New York, because that's really a swipe at everybody on the right, not as swiping as law and order. What did he say? He said, well, really, I couldn't comment about extramarital affairs. That's not something I have experience with. Whoops! Hold it! Sounded really sanctimonious. and Trump picked on it. He caught it. That was, I'm sorry to say, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Mr. Trump, Mr. President, you can't go after Ron the way you are. And Ron, you got to avoid sounding sanctimonious. You're feeding it. You're feeding it.
But the point is, I love both of them. You know, I
That's
really
my
like
point.
both.
We don't want to
That's
see
what I'm saying.
either.
That's the point. We love both of them. Why can't we have both? Why can't we have?
That's like people
Trump
that used to
and-
attack you when you were on the show.
They still do.
No,
I got
they
a
don't.
lady-
Oh,
my
you know what? Let me
gosh.
tell you something. Let me tell you something, young ladies out there. And here's a lesson for you.
I can pull up the text messages from this one lady who's been messaging me actively lately.
What is she?
I can't believe she thinks I'm a Calvinist. She's like, you must be. Go work for John MacArthur. I can't believe Lance would work with anybody like you. And I was like, oh, at least that's how I read it. That's how it comes across.
That is such a non-news item right now, whether or not you were
You brought
accused of
it
being.
up.
People don't even know what a Calvinist is out there.
People don't know what a Calvinist is.
No, you always think people know this stuff.
Okay.
How many of you know what a Calvinist is? Raise your hand. How many of you know what the Armenians are?
How many of you are raising your hands right now at home?
How many of you are raising your hands? How many of you know that you shouldn't be raising your hands at home? All right. Trump hush money to grand jury. Let's talk about the hush money. I'm gonna go out on the edge because this story could be contradicted in the next 48 hours. But let me tell you what's going on with the DA in New York. They've got 3 cases coming up against Trump right now, maybe 4. But they are going to try to go after Trump for charges of election interference in Fulton County, Georgia, which is hilarious because Fulton County, Georgia is one of the areas where they're really the most backwards regarding election integrity. But that's where they're going to try to charge him. They're also going to come at him on what's the other case? I know what it is. It's the DA. It's 3 of them. What's the third one? The third case. Come on, Mercedes.
know.
Everyone out there knows what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The third case is to do with the documents. Remember the Mar-a-Lago raid?
Okay.
That was a trick question.
Okay.
So the Mar-a-Lago raid, they're going to claim that he had documents he shouldn't have had, and they even brought his lawyers up, which is a very serious step to have to go before the grand jury and explain whether or not they were in with Trump on hiding information from the government. So this is Trump is. I told you guys a long time ago that they went down and raided the house in order to try to find information they could use for the other cases. They're desperate to get rid of Trump. But here's what the problem with New York is. Even Cuomo, did you see this? Former Governor Cuomo said, this is a stupid case this is a liberal. This is a Democrat, liberal. He goes, this is a dumb case for them to be doing with a district attorney. It looks like it's pure politics. Everybody knows that when the right wing went after Bill Clinton for Monica Lewinsky, as inappropriate as it was for him to be having sex with an intern, it looked so sanctimonious. It looked so Pharisaic. It looked like it was an inappropriate humiliation. And the backlash was that Clinton got reelected largely out of sympathy, and the right got tarnished with the look of being a petty, kind of like invader of privacy. Like this is inappropriate to go that far, that deep, to try to embarrass the man that publicly and get him impeached over it, no less. And so the right learned a lesson. Like let's pick the issues we go after. Well, the left never learned that because they go after everything. But the feedback they're getting from the polls, it's all data, is this is a really losing case because public doesn't want to go after Trump over what he did a decade ago in his own private life before he was. Let's go after him as a president, what he did. So they're trying to hold that indictment, hoping the Fulton County indictment gets in front of it. Then Fulton can come out, then New York can come out. And then they can come out with 3 indictments at one time.
Wow.
And what they want to do is they want to wrap Trump up in 3 indictments, 3 crimes to make him the criminal candidate they're going to smear running against him. Mark my words, I'm accurate on this one. All right, I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys all again in our next broadcast. God bless you.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.